come and go.
But it's not.
We have a hand in some firings, but on the most part, they will never admit it.
North says he's personally responsible for running at least one coach out of town.
Vince Tobin, who was the defensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. I was on him from day one, and I think eventually the ownership of the Chicago Bears heard what I was saying, heard what a lot of other guys were saying here at the Score, and I think he was gone because of it.
The Bears deny that North or Sports Talk Radio had anything to do with Tobin's dismissal.
Who's to blame for this? Who's going to take the wrath of your disappointment?
Some coaches in town listen, others don't, but they tell their players not to take the daily barrage of criticism to heart.
I talked to them about enough of keeping everything in perspective, and they know, as in any time with any sport, you know, when you're winning and doing good, everybody loves you and all the calls are good. So, I mean, it's part of the business, and I think our players and coaches approach it that way.
Mental masturbation is what they do. They just mess around with, you know, who would you like to trade who for, and it's, you know, it's stuff that you used to be able to go down to your local bar and sit down at a local bar and have arguments with. The worst thing about talk radio is that there are jobs that are jeopardized.
And what kind of impact does Sports Talk Radio have in the clubhouse?
I think sometimes they get a little harsh on players and really, I guess, invade their privacy in their lives.
Just got great insight, and it's good to listen to if you read between the lines and you can pick some things up that can help you.
I don't listen to it. I like to listen to some nice, calm music.
Oh, they'll tell you they don't listen. But when they recite things back that you say, when you see them in the locker room, believe me, they listen. They listen plenty.
I listen to National Public Radio. I'd rather be informed than misinformed.
When Sports Talk Mania continues, how athletes use a medium so often critical of their performance.
He had a nuclear meltdown on the air.
My wife really urged me not to go on the show because she knew that I was going to explode.
How much do you pay for a minute of long distance to Europe?
It probably costs me more than $1 a minute.
It's very expensive. $1, maybe more.
Introducing Sprint Sense International. Simply great rates to anywhere in the U.S. and now to anywhere in the world.
You can save on both international and domestic.
50 cents la minute pour la France. Le zo wenig? Wow!
This is one calling plan that sounds good in any language.
Call now for Sprint Sense International and get up to 100 minutes free. The Mercury Villager not only drives like a car, it's also easy to use. Allow us to demonstrate. It seats 7 comfortably. Rear passengers can listen to music in private. Middle seats fold down into tray tables. And with Villager's sliding rear seat, you just slide it forward for more room. Or remove the middle seats and slide all the way to the front. Proving the Villager is so easy to use, even well, let's just say it doesn't take a genius to figure it out. Villager from Mercury.
These players get up and down, and you know, you got to cool them off for the hot tempers they get out there, and then you got to pump them up, and we take a lot of blame. To me, it doesn't go to one ear right out the other, because maybe there's nothing in there, but we're psychologists or psychiatrists or Dr. Rabbit or whatever it is, you know what I mean? You know, we got to be, okay, let's go. Let's, you know, get your head together, you know, keep focused here a little bit. Let's go to the next shot. Forget about that. That happened 2 holes ago, and you're still talking about it. It's money out of my pocket, so let's play golf.
We've seen the power of sports radio to make or break players and coaches, so it's inevitable that players and coaches, agents, anybody on the inside of the sports industry would, in this age of spin, use sports radio for their own purposes. As Steve Cyphers tells us, sometimes that works, and sometimes it blows up in their faces.
In 1991, Gray Jeffries was a Met in misery. He was criticized all the way from the press box to the clubhouse, and one day he'd had enough. Using WFAN, The Fan, in New York City, Jeffries fired back.
He faxed an open letter about his relationship with his teammates, which was not good, to the city through us.
It began with Jeffries writing that his teammates criticized and blamed him all too often. Near the end, it reads, if we can concentrate more on the games rather than complaining and bickering and pointing fingers, we would all be better off. That's how he wanted to tell his side of the story, through a letter read over the air.
Which I did, and it was a mistake. That was a flat-out mistake. That killed him with the Mets. That finished him with the Mets.
Fans listen, and fans remember. Ask Will Clark. Almost 2 months after he told listeners of his pro-labor, anti-replacement player stance on KLIF in Dallas, he was still taking heat.
570 KLIF.
the talk team.
If you were such a big union guy during the strike, why didn't you walk with the umpires?
Mr. Clark, I think that some of the statements that you've made have alienated me as a Joe Public fan.
Are you sorry you said those statements about the replacement player?
As far as, being sorry for, statements, the way they came out, yeah, definitely.
I got caught on the short end of the stick, and, I sort of accept that. It won't happen again, I can tell you that.
Most often, the athletes and sports figures are scheduled to appear. Their upcoming segments are heavily promoted.
Rockets head coach Rudy T on KTRH.
But sometimes, they call in just like anybody else.
We had a caller, Matt in Arlington, and he was talking about that we didn't really understand their side.
And he said our side.
Our side, and what we have to do. And then he caught himself. And then we busted him. It was Matt Whiteside, a reliever for the Rangers. He called up as Matt in Arlington. And then we said, this is Matt Whiteside, isn't it? Both of us know Matt. Okay. And he goes, yeah, I really didn't want to get into that, but yeah, it is me. And then we were able to carry him on over a break and really talk about some of the strike issues.
The issue was basketball when the Bulls' Bill Wennington called in to talk about his treatment by the Score in Chicago. Seems Dan Jiggets and Mike North wanted Wennington caned after a poor performance against Orlando.
The reason I'm calling is, I was listening last week, you guys were caned. I only got caned twice, and I was rather disappointed because I had a horrendous outing. And I think I should just cane myself.
You want to cane yourself?
You can cane myself or shoot me.
He comes on the Score quite a bit, comes on the radio quite a bit, and interacts with the listeners. And that's how a guy can keep his career going, by being a popular figure in town.
Players aren't the only ones who phone in. Sometimes the guys who make the calls make the call. Jerry Reinsdorf, Wennington's boss and also the owner of the White Sox, did so to answer criticism by Jiggets and North of the Sox minority hiring practices.
I don't mind getting ripped when somebody's giving an opinion or when the facts are right, but you guys were definitely a little out of line yesterday.
Okay, how were we out of line yesterday, Joe?
If talk radio can be a good PR tool for management and players, then it can be a great one for agents. Bill Goodstein, representing Darryl Strawberry and Doc Gooden on The Fan in New York.
I talked to George about 2 weeks ago, so we talked about Darryl and Doc, actually. George was very enthusiastic about both players, who he told me he knows and has talked to in the past and admires.
2 years ago, during heated contract negotiations, Andy Benes didn't need his agent to talk directly to management.
I mean, they knew I was going to be on, and I'm sure that they had they had their ears open.
Andy was throwing beanballs at ownership. I mean, it was hot radio. And we had to bleep him a couple of times with our delay system.
At the time, my wife really urged me not to go on the show because she knew that I was going to explode, because I told her I'm just going to take this hour of airtime to voice my frustration.
He had a nuclear meltdown on the air.
I think a lot of coaches and players use FAN to get their points across. That's been known, I think Pat Riley uses FAN in a lot of cases to sort of talk to New York.
That was the case before Game 6 with Indiana.
Patrick really has, his challenge cut out for him because the whole series has been about Rick. But I think he's up to it.
Coaches to players, players to teammates, agents to owners. It's not just for fans anymore. And the gang hanging around the water cooler is growing.
In a town that's got a good sports talk show and has got a good sports talk station, coaches and athletes know that they can reach more people listening to that than they can talking to the one newspaper. Because, one newspaper's got a circulation, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000? Good talk show, good radio stations got a circulation of a couple of million, over a period of a week.
I was a resident of Illinois for 5 months.
Okay.
And I don't want to talk about that.
What do former athletes bring to this explosion in sports talk radio? We visit with Pete Rose and his new line of work when Outside the Lines continues.
Recently, Automobile Magazine described the Mazda Millennium as a great cruising car at a price that embarrasses Acura, Infiniti, and Lexus. Frankly, we didn't intend to embarrass anyone with Millennia's multi-link suspension, ABS, dual airbags, and roadside assistance, all for thousands less than other luxury sedans. And if $0 down and $399 a month proves embarrassing to our competitors, we apologize in advance. Lease the Mazda Millennia for nothing down and just $399 a month.
This summer, experience the glory.
Sir Lancelot, yours in life and death.
The adventure. And the passion.
Tell me you don't love me.
Of a place called Camelot.
The great Arthur and his great dream.
Charge! Sean Connery, Richard Gere, Julia Ormond. First Night, rated PG-13. Special sneak preview Saturday night.
We got to make a big impression on all the extreme games athletes coming into town. They got people coming in from Australia, Japan, France, New Zealand, Hungary. Bjorn Dunkerbeck, for instance, not only is he the #1 ranked professional windsurfer in the world, he's born in Denmark. He lives in Spain. Top it, top it, top it.
Still ahead, Sports Talk Radio deals with breaking stories.
Mickey Mantle gets a liver overnight.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
And I got to tell you, Mike, I took some heat for that, but this is the way the world works.
And next, former athletes use their on-field experience for credibility at the Sports Talk microphone.
There's not many talk show hosts that have been to prison, have been suspended from baseball, have been through free agency, have been in World Series 6 times or 17 All-Star games.
I deliver babies, sometimes 10,000 a day. All babies, fuzzy babies. When people send their film to be developed, they're like expected parents. They're waiting for their moments, their Kodak moments. And if you think about it, a roll of film is like a bundle of joy. That's why we use the Kodak Color Watch system, because with Kodak support and their color standards, especially the paper, we can turn out the color prints that people hope for. I mean, it's a great place. We don't just develop pictures, we deliver memories.
In naming the all-new Mercury Mystique one of the 10 best cars, Car and Driver said you might easily mistake it for a much more expensive European sports sedan. But perhaps the most surprising quote of all is just $15,850 for this Mystique, priced so much less than a comparably equipped Nissan Altima and Honda Accord. The competition has no comment. Mercury Mystique. Compare for yourself at your Lincoln Mercury dealer today.
Wet roadways like this inspired Goodyear's newest all-season AquaTread radio, the all-new Goodyear AquaTread 2, with a deeper, wider aqua channel to sweep water away for outstanding wet traction and a new TreadLife compound. Goodyear gives you a 65,000-mile warranty, so you've got wet traction when you need it. The all-new 65,000-mile AquaTread 2, only from Goodyear.
AT&T, this is Richie.
Richard, this long-distance business is maddening. MCI and Sprint keep calling. Everybody's pulling at me. Every week there's a new, confusing plan.
I know.
I just want something simple.
AT&T True Savings.
It's simple.
Sign up, make $10 in calls a month, and we'll subtract 25% off your AT&T bill.
25% off to whom?
Anybody in the U.S.
Smashing.
It's AT&T's simplest way to save 25%.
Oh, I'd like that.
AT&T True Savings. Save 25% to anybody. That's your true choice. AT&T.
Questions about a sports radio host's credentials can evaporate when that host is a former athlete, and there are a number of them hosting shows. The most popular is Pete Rose with his nightly program on over 100 stations on the Sports Fan Radio Network. As Mike Tirico reports, Rose brings sports credibility and a well-known personality to a business that covets both.
Welcome, fans, to the Pete Rose Show, live from the Holiday Inn West in Boca Raton, Florida. 1-800-803-7383 is the number to call. I'm capitalizing on my love for all sports over my baseball career. I mean, it's documented that I was a great football fan. I was a great basketball fan. I've learned to love hockey, especially the Stanley Cup. Elbridge, New York.
Hello.
Chayton, what's up?
Oh, not much, Pete. How you doing?
I get the impression from listening to a lot of people talk that they can't believe they're talking to me. I said, just pretend I'm just your next-door neighbor. You just called me up and you're talking to me. I put my pants on the same way as you did. I just got a lot of hits.
Pete the player was incomparable on the field. His uniqueness carried off the field in his managerial days, when his daily pregame radio show evolved into 2-hour shows of winter hot stove chat. But Pete Rose is not the only former athlete to find success as a talk show host. In St. Louis, Dan Deerdorf parlayed his Cardinal playing days, comfort behind the microphone, and the powerful signal of KMOX radio